Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk, a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, you already know it's the place you wanna be. Sis and Tell, the podcast that's so sweet. Oh, Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk about, a whole lot of nothing. Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. What's going on?
I just want to give a shout out to the beauty industry for normalizing something because it's rare that
I was going to say, I'm dying to hear what they could be normalizing.
Okay. It's that it's okay for women to shave their faces because they, first of all, my dermatologist, and I brought this up on a podcast like a couple years ago, I went in and I was like, can I have some Retin-A? And he's like, or you can shave your face because it does the same thing. And he meant like my forehead, but really anywhere on my face. But the beauty industry has this tool. It's like the size of a pencil and there's a blade on it. And then you use it to like get off peach fuzz.
Oh, I've seen it because they have all of these Facebook ads that pop up and it's a little mesmerizing. It's almost as rewarding as watching the hair straightener videos that I go down a rabbit hole.
The steamer, when people like steam their hair straight.
I can't get enough of those. I really can't.
I love those.
If they had that version of an app to put me to sleep at night, I think it would cure my insomnia. It's so soothing to me to watch somebody, and it's because I have curly hair and I straighten it. But they do it in a way where I'm like, I need that product. And then I go to reviews outside of Facebook. They're like, no, it's a scam. You'll never get it. So,
but like it's not like women weren't trying to get rid of face hair. Just back to my thank you beauty industry. Yeah. Like people were spending gobs of money putting a laser on their face or other body parts for unwanted body hair. Lasers. Like in men, they were just, here's my $2 razor and I'm using that. And then finally someone created this little thing, it's not even a one use. Like you can use it multiple times. Marshalls, you can get a pack of 6 for like $4.
So that leads to my next question is the multiple use thing. Yeah. Is once you use it, don't you have to keep using it? Or isn't it going to come back as stubble?
No, it does not. That is a misnomer.
Don't yell at me. I'm just asking. Just asking. Don't get upset.
Okay, that is I'll say it more pleasantly. That is a misnomer. That's not true that if you shave, it comes back heavier.
Okay.
It's just,
and your dermatologist has approved this? It's not just something you found on social media and thought this is a great trick?
No, my dermatologist has recommended it as like a skin regimen, not as like a hair removal regimen. He said it would help with, like, I guess, sloughing off your dead skin, which helps renew the skin, just much like what Retin-A would do. Right? His was a different recommendation. I'm talking about getting rid of, like, that peach fuzz that women have.
So I don't really have the peach fuzz. I don't have a lot of hair really anywhere.
I don't have a lot of hair.
I'm looking at my arms just in case. I know you can see me, but nobody else can. But my arm hair is very thin. It's really hard to see.
It looks like I shave my arms. That's how little arm hair I have.
Right. If swimmers had to have hairless arms, I could have been a swimmer, no doubt. I mean,
so if you started shaving your arms, it wouldn't grow thick. It wouldn't grow in thicker. I'm just saying.
Not planning to shave my arms.
I know. I'm just saying it's not. It's not. That's not how it works.
Right. So are you using this? Are you using this one-step razor to remove the peach fuzz off your face and see results?
Off like my sideburns. Yeah. Okay. And I'm saying it. I'm helping to normalize it. Women, we get and it's not just like and I'm not going through menopause and I'm not premenopausal, so it's not like a hormone imbalance. Like women at a young age. Young women end up with hair in unwanted places. That's why they have the bleaching systems for hair and all that stuff and laser hair removal. So just want to say there's a cheaper response to unwanted hair.
So I remember
some people don't care.
At camp, I learned a lot of what I needed to know about puberty and such at camp.
Everything I know, I learned from camp.
Exactly. And I remember one of those first summers that I guess the girls were bleaching their mustaches. That was a thing. And they would bring Jolene bleach. I can still picture the package. And you mix it up. The tiny little thing. And there was the powder and the cream. And then once you activated it, you mixed it together. That was the active bleach. And then you put it on your lip, right? And then you had to sit there for 10 or 15 minutes, and then it bleached it. And so I didn't really even have hair on my lip, but I just wanted to be part of the crowd. So I did that. And the first time I did it, it kind of bleached my lip. Because, especially during the summer, I'm a little olive skinned. So I'm like, oh no, now I look like I have a mustache instead of getting rid of the mustache.
That's so funny.
Then to be part of the crowd, then we moved from just bleaching our mustaches, or the non-existent mustache in my case, to bleaching our hair. And so every summer...
I remember you came back with red hair, like right there.
Yeah,
like
so I have black hair, which when you put bleach on it, doesn't turn it blonde. It turns it orange.
Yeah.
And I was afraid Mommy and Daddy would be upset. So, of course, I hid it. I did it in the back of the head.
I remember
underneath,
this.
there was just a little piece, and I would bleach it, and that's it. And now I think about, that was my rebellious stage, like bleaching one little strip of hair and underneath the rest of my mane of curly hair. And now today... I mean, parents like you are so supportive and encouraging. Like, you want to color your hair, go color your hair. It's hair.
Yeah.
So
I know. And now, like, the girls, and boys, they're getting their hair colored in like elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time they get to high school, they don't even care. Well, some do, like my friend's daughter, she does it herself. She does all these crazy colors and all on her own. She's not spending hundreds of dollars at the hair salon, which, probably does it healthier. And I'm sure I bleached Ruby's hair and then dyed it pink for her. And I'm sure if I had taken her to the hair salon, they would have done it in a much better way. They're trained. They have licenses. They go to school for that.
They actually do. Yeah. And I see at my salon, there are so many women of all ages who get their hair colored different colors, not just I get my hair colored to cover the gray. And I always said, well, once I cover the gray, I'm just going to go with a color. I'm going to do like something wild. Oh no, I am way too scared to do a color. Well, it's also, I'd have to do it off season when I'm not on TV. I'm not sure they would allow me
What would you do? Like, what do you mean?
I don't know, like purples or pink or orange.
You would not.
Well, this was in my head when I was in my 40s and thought, oh, one day I'll do that. But no. But I did see a woman the other day who had these beautiful, like, almost like hot pink streaks at the very end. Her hair was as dark as mine, and the very front, and it was such that she could put it behind her ears and you could see it, or if her hair was down, it was more subtle. It was so beautiful. And to your point, because she had done it by a professional, it almost wanted me or inspired me to think about doing it, but not quite. So I figured out I can admire it on others without feeling the need to have it on my own head.
Yeah.
I'm really fine with my black. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I started doing Madison Reed over the pandemic because I'd go to, if I had to go to my hair salon, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And it's way more expensive. So the Madison Reed, I started doing it, but then it seemed too dark. So I did a step lighter, and that's really been nice. But I have red highlights now because of it. But my hair, like before I started dyeing my hair, I had naturally red highlights, so much so that Mommy would, quote unquote, accuse me of dyeing my hair when I hadn't. She goes, your hair's not that red. I go, it is. I go, I have naturally red highlights.
Well, and I give a lot of props to, speaking of props to the beauty industry, especially to the hair industry. And I know a lot of salons and stylists across the country, I'm sure across the world, they were afraid that all of their clients that were getting professionally colored hair or professionally cut hair were going to come back in 6 months, and it was going to take 2 years to get them back to where they had left them, pre-pandemic. And so they were, and I know there are a ton here that were mixing up the professional grade of color and doing it in little to-go boxes, and so that you could do it at home, and they're giving you instructions so that once you did go back in person to the salon, it wasn't too dire.
That's
right?
smart.
Yeah, which is smart. And of course, as you know, I set up Salon Alison in my backyard, and I was doing safe COVID cuts all through the pandemic. I didn't really know what I was doing, but that got me a job I did not anticipate, which is I am now the permanent hair cutter of Alan. He has not gone back to the barber or hairstylist in 2.5 years. So I have to cut his hair.
So Murray, my oldest, who is 16 and has my hair, which is right. Like if you're looking at me, and he loves it long and curly. Like he's got a nice Jufro, and he's very particular though about who cuts his hair. And he started going to my hairstylist, who for me, and Murray loved the haircuts he gave, but it was too expensive for a boy's haircut because he needs to get his haircut a lot more than I do.
Right.
And it was just too much of an investment. So I took him to this barber shop that cut his that I could get into like last minute, because this other barbershop we would go to, it would take us 3 months to get in there because it's so great. So, but this one, which is also good, but I just picked a random barber and hoped that it would work out. And he was great with curly hair, but Murray freaked out because he wanted half an inch cut and the guy cut an inch. He talked him into an inch and he thought it was too much, which it was not. So right before camp, we went back to this guy. Murray said, I want a quarter of an inch, and he talked him into half an inch. And then 3 weeks later, Murray goes, I need to get my hair cut again. And I was like, no, you're fine. But he was so upset and worried about it. He goes, just before camp, please. And I said, okay. And then 3 days before camp, he goes, I need to get my hair cut again. This was like, I go, you will have had 3 haircuts in 1 month, right, which would make this $130 with tip.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
$130 for you to cut your hair. And it hasn't even grown really. And so I was like, no, I'm putting my foot down. You're fine. I think it had gotten humid out and his hair had gotten bigger. So he was like,
well, it's the reality that after you get your haircut, there's really only a 1 week to 10 day period where your hair is like perfect length. Because it's either like right when it's cut, it's maybe a little too short, then it gets to the perfect length, and then it's too long, and then you get it cut. And we go through this cycle always. I remember in high school, Chuck, my friend Chuck, used to get his hair cut so short because he did not want to get his hair cut very often, but he couldn't stand it so short. So he would wear a baseball hat. And then the hair would get to a length where he liked it for about 5 days, and then he'd put the baseball hat back on, and then he'd get his hair cut. So there was about 5 days out of every 6 weeks that I knew him growing up where I'd actually see his hair and not see him in a baseball hat.
Well, Mommy, she doesn't like it when we cut her hair. She's short. She has opinions. She turns into Sally Field from Steel Magnolias. And we are like, Shelby. And she's like, oh, no, Shelby, what have you done to your hair? Right? Why did you cut your beautiful hair, Shelby? And we're like, we like it better this way, Mommy. And I am no Julia Roberts.
No, that was good, though.
Thank you. Shelby, what have you done to your hair? So so we had all these appointments we had to get to before camp. Obviously, everyone got their hair cut before camp. Murray did not get that third one. But I also had a special appointment for Kabu, who is not just our lab. I want to say she is our rescue lab. And I'm pointing that out not so people think I'm a better person. I'm pointing that out so people know that when we got her, she came to us overweight.
She already came to us in this state. So,
yeah.
Which I will say, it wasn't your fault, but it was your responsibility.
Stop it. Okay, so we got her November 2019, and she's 9. So that was almost 3 years ago, okay? Which you're right, at this point, it is totally our responsibility. But the foundation of fatness was there. And she's a chocolate lab. Literally, she, on the Kirkland brand of food for overweight dogs, she is the poster child because there is a picture of a chocolate lab on there. So I took her in for an appointment just to get a rabies shot. She needed her updated shot, right? She had already had her vet appointment. I want to say like a few months, maybe it was in like December. And they're like, the vet needs to talk to you.
And by the way, I am not a vet. I do not play a vet on television. But when I was 12 years old, I thought about being a veterinarian. So I can say from a childhood perspective of being an aspiring veterinarian at one point in my life that this is not about body image or body shaming KB. This, because I have a feeling I know what the vet's going to say, and we had a lab. This is about the longevity of Kebu's life, because the skinnier a dog is, they act like they're starving, but they're not. Oh. And the skinnier they are, the longer they live, and the healthier they are. And labs tend to have a ton of problems, especially later in life. So the skinnier you can keep them, I think really any dog, but especially labs, then the more you protect them. Now, that was just from the aspiring veterinarian perspective, a 12-year-old. Okay, what did your actually certified, medically degreed veterinarian tell you?
There are so many careers you wanted to have. So first of all, we grew up with a black lab, Pepper, and he was overweight, and he lived to the age of 14. So that's all I'm going to say. That sometimes they can handle being a little rotund, but she's a chunky girl. Mommy does not like it when we call her fat. She's curvy and her figure's gorgeous. And so she evidently, Kebu, had gained 7 pounds. Oh. So she is shorter than Milo, who is our Great Pyrenees, who looks 120, but weighs a healthy 85 pounds. And she is 100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, she is a big girl. And as they're like, go, can you put her on the scale? This was at the beginning of the appointment. I was like, oh, girl, uh-oh, I'm going to get in trouble. So they're like, can you please tell us they just wanted to make sure that she didn't have some sort of underlying health condition versus.
It's called hunger.
I said, I got a little defensive. It was like, she came to us fat. And then I was like, well, Dr. Franco, my friend Janine is our vet, and she's excellent, but she was not at this appointment. It was a different vet because Janine wasn't working that day. I go, Dr. Franco told us to feed her 1 cup in the morning and 1 cup at night, which is what we do. The issue is we all do it.
All 5 of you are feeding her a cup each?
No, I don't know if it happens. It's never all 5 of us, but... But what happens is I'll wake up in the morning, I'll come downstairs, and she's like, oh, I'm ready for breakfast. And I'm like, I got you, girl. And she does this like really adorable, like quick, dainty walk over to her food bowl. She's so excited to eat. And then I'll go take the kids to school. And Oscar's on the way there. He's like, Mommy, I fed Kebu this morning. And I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I fed her too. And then I'll get home and Aaron will be like, oh, I fed the dogs, by the way, so you don't need to. And I was like, well, we all fed the dogs. So, but this happens. And it's like, and they're like, does she get treats? And I'm like, well, I mean, once in a while, I will give her a treat, but not very often. Like maybe 3 times a week, but sometimes not at all. Right? But the issue is Murray does give her treats. And so do the other kids. And then they're like, does she get table scraps? And I'm like, well, I will let her lick the plate that the steak was on. But the issue is there are 4 other people in my house, and I'm not in control. I'm not in control.
Here's what I'm going to give you the diagnosis from these symptoms.
Yeah.
Kebu's a great dog.
We're bad owners.
You're a terrible owner. And you need to get you and your fellow owners under control, because there is an obvious system to this.
Yeah.
And you need, there is a very simple fix that you're just not willing to do. And you are enabling each other to create an unhealthy environment for poor Kebu. So if I need to step in to be...
Did you say pork Kebu?
No. For poor Kebu. And if I need to serve as Kebu's advocate, canine advocate in the court of humane law, then I will, because of course she wants to eat. You know what? And I want to eat sugar and drink a couple glasses of wine every night and stuff. But do I?
Yes, you do.
So maybe I do. But when I was Kebu's age, or maybe the equivalent.
You have more M&Ms in your pantry than the Mars manufacturing plant
has
in their warehouse.
You know what Kebu needs? We took out all the M&Ms. We've eliminated sugar. Well, we've tried to. You know what Kebu needs? I'm afraid to tell you.
What?
The Mimi talk.
I know. That's basically what I got from the vet.
Yeah. And anybody, so our maternal grandmother of blessed memory, Mimi, she was known for her unfiltered but loving approach to all things that needed correcting, including.
Can we put needed in quotes?
That in her eyes needed. Yes.
Right.
Needed.
In her eyes needed correcting.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in my case, it did need correcting, and I was slightly overweight for a few years of my life. It was probably between the ages of 18 to 21 or the college years. And she pulled me aside and said, "Darling, this extra weight is not going to serve you." Whatever she said, I was probably so traumatized by the talk.
Right.
That I cried, because hearing something that's for your own good is often really, it feels hurtful and harmful instead of helpful. But I know it was helpful. And look, it's not like Mimi gave me the talk and then I went off and said, "I'm going to work out 5 days a week and cut back on my sugar stuff." No, I went back to college and I kept eating pizza and drinking beer. But I did look back, and we always joke about the quote Mimi talk, that there, you want people in your life who are going to give you the honest to goodness truth.
When you ask for it.
Well, but what if you're doing things, that are either addictive behavior or harmful behavior, and you don't necessarily ask for it, but you need to hear it? And Mimi put it in that category.
Okay.
And so I'm just saying, at this point, the doctor, right? Dr. Franco, is that her name?
Well, Janine wasn't there. It was a different doctor, but I know Janine would have given me the same talk.
She's giving you the Mimi talk.
Oh.
And poor Kebu, she doesn't know. She's a dog. She'll just eat till she's sick.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Milo is good at, we can just give him a big giant bowl of food and he'll eat when he's hungry.
Yeah. So I had the opposite when Hershey was around our chocolate lab.
She was tiny.
She was tiny. And our vet used to call her Ty, our vet Ty Federico, used to call her a mini lab because she was not like one of those couture dogs, whatever. She came from almost a shelter, and she was just so skinny all the time. He loved her. You could see her ribs, and he just loved her. And as she aged, but
in a good way, you could see her
in a good way. She was very healthy, and she did not overeat. She lived to be almost 14, also, and she had her bark mitzvah. Thank you very much. And
you made Hershey bars.
Here she is. So. She, at some point while in her older years, which older is considered 6 to 10, the organic dog food started to become a thing, right? And so everybody started. It's not like it is now where there's no preservatives and make sure there's actually chicken and not
whole
chicken
grains.
Guts. Yes.
Yeah.
It was even more simplistic than that. It was sort of, here is organic dog food. And we didn't really know what it meant.
It meant nothing. It was just a word on packaging.
Yes, because there was literally an organic grocery store from a local person who started it in Chattanooga. So there was one organic grocery store, which eventually turned into a Whole Foods. Now you can go to the Publix and get, organic groceries. This was not the case back then. This was, probably 2008 or so. And I go to it was called Green Life at the time. There's organic food. Of course, I want my dog to be healthy. So I hook, line, and sinker buy the organic food. So after a few months, and it took a while, whatever, I noticed she wasn't even eating the regimented, cup or 2 cups a day that we're giving her. She really almost just went on a hunger strike. And then I got really nervous that she, of course, the mom to me, does she have cancer? Does she have this? What's going on? So I took her to the vet, and I'm all nervous and I'm worried. I'm like, she hasn't been eating and this, and she's lethargic. And every time I give it to her, I try to mix it with water, and I make a little gravy, and I'm doing all this stuff. So he's like, "Could you hold 1 second?" He seems very dire. I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes in the back and he grabs a can of whatever the equivalent is of
the wet dog food.
Alpo, right?
Yeah.
Like the cheapest 30-cent can from probably Walmart. And he opens it up and he throws it into a bowl, and Hershey walks over, actually probably runs over, and she eats it in 3 bites. And then he opens a second can. He does it again. She eats it in another 3 bites. He said, "Alison, your dog is not sick. She's starving, and she hates her food. There you go. Have a good day." And so I left. I threw away all the organic dog food, and I bought her all the cheap stuff, and she lived to be almost 14. So there you go.
That's really funny.
She's not sick. She's hungry. Yeah. Sometimes we make a bigger deal out of things than it is. But I'm with you. Like, if you need me to help you construct what could be a fairly easy systematic approach to feeding Kebu, where nobody is literally double dipping into the food container.
Yeah, I think that's
mark
what
it off. Mark it off for the day. Yes.
We need one person in
You need
charge
a Kebu chart, and once she is fed in the morning, there's a check. And the afternoon.
But also, she's going to be on a diet just by default, because all the kids are at sleepaway camp. We dropped them off yesterday, so it's just me and Aaron. So it's good because it's just the two of us, and we can control that. She kept on trying to get food from us yesterday, and she puts her head on our knee and then looks up at us like the cutest little dog stare.
Yeah, the irony is your kids went to camp, and now Kebu's at fat camp.
Right, she's going to fat camp.
She's going to fat camp. I bet she loses all 7 pounds in the next 4 weeks.
I think she will. Erin already said her tail looks skinnier, and that's when they do. They gain weight.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they gain weight in their tail.
Petco.
I mean, I know I do. My figurative tail, but.
Petco has a chart of what like the back of or the top of dogs look like, and like obesity levels for dogs, and Kebu's right at the top level of like what the neck looks like, and then these like fat bumps, and then what happens with the tail. It looks like a balloon animal, right? It does. It's like it's like the bumpy. It's really. But speaking of living creatures, we do have some additional unwanted pets in our house.
Oh no.
Or should I say pests? And it happens in the summer, just in the South in general, where there's no matter how many times the bug people come, we got the roaches.
It's also excruciatingly hot already, which I think unseasonably hot for June.
Yeah.
We had beautiful weather, then all of a sudden it just ended, and it's like Satan's armpit here. So, which I used that line when I was in Texas, and apparently that was already a phrase that Texans had coined, but I thought I had made it up, and somebody else used it. I'm like, oh, okay, well at least it's accurate. And then I came back here thinking, oh, it's going to feel so cool compared to Texas. Oh no. All of a sudden the heat hit here, the humidity hit, and those poor roaches, I'm saying this because they're looking for water, I'm sure, or looking for a respite from the heat.
Yeah, they're like, honey, it is so hot outside, let's go inside the Markses. So I have to say I'm going to miss Murray. I'm going to miss all the kids, but Murray especially, because he is my alternative bug killer in the house for all of those little God's tiny annoying creatures.
He's your personal orchid man?
Yeah, he is. And before it started off with Daddy, right? Growing up, and I've brought this up before, but I'd find a bug and I'd put a Dixie cup over it and wait for him to come home, and he'd be like, I don't know how many times he fell for this. I wasn't trying to trick him, but he'd be like, oh, there's a cup upside down on the floor. I'm going to pick it up. And there was a bug underneath it waiting for him. He'd be like, and I'm like, can you kill that? So then I moved on to marrying Aaron, who is my bug guy. He likes to use his flip-flops or a giant crock to get to them. And then Murray. I was like, thank God I've got someone else to get these bugs, except he is also afraid of roaches. Okay? The roaches, let me just say, in Georgia are the size of a chocolate lab.
I know. It's like trying to kill a Nike shoe. There's no way. You need a larger Nike shoe to kill the Nike shoe. And I will say, at least you have supportive bug killers in your house. Alan is over it because he thinks I'm dramatic. No. He thinks I'm a wimp. He thinks I'm being ridiculous. He has refused to come to my aid when I call him now. So I want to share this with you. I have created my own roach trapping and elimination system. You ready?
Is it a dust buster?
It is not, no, because then it's still stuck. I don't want it near me, and I don't want to touch it, and I don't want to smush it. I don't like the smushing. All that. So I have a giant plastic stadium cup, one of those cups you probably got free from some event or you took home after an actual game at a stadium.
Yeah.
And I have a piece of junk mail that's not too thick and not too thin. So it's sturdy enough that it can hold itself up, not paper thin, but also not like, a notebook. And I keep that on the back of my toilet because it just so happens that all the cockroaches I see are in the bathroom. They're always in the bathroom.
It's a spa day. Like, it's a spa day.
That's where they want to hang out. And now when I see it, I calmly I stopped yelling for Alan. I calmly grabbed my stadium cup, which the circumference of the bottom is large enough to fit over even the largest of cockroaches. I calmly place it over and I take a deep breath. And then I take my piece of junk mail and I slide it under. And then I carefully get it and hold the piece of paper and flip it and make sure that the cockroach lands at the bottom of the very tall and very wide stadium cup, and keep the piece of paper over it. Okay?
Why don't you just put it over the toilet and take the paper out?
Okay, I'm glad you asked, because one time the
like
cockroach was so big and it was so wingy that it started to crawl out of the toilet before I could flush it. I learned my lesson. So now I flip the cup over so it's at the bottom. I go over to the toilet. I lift both seats.
This is intense.
Yes, both seats of the toilet. I then, as I'm now clutching the stadium cup with the roach and the top with one hand to make sure it doesn't fly out, I flush the toilet and immediately remove the paper, dump it in there so the swirl's already going and the roach is gone.
That
to toilet heaven.
One of the best strategies is flushing the toilet before you put the bug in there.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So this is my gift to you.
Thank you.
To the roach fearing world out there who doesn't believe in, I don't know if it's the most humane way to eliminate the roach population, but it is the most sane way for me.
Let's be real. They're not dying in that water. They're roaches. They live forever.
No, they're going on. Look, I figure they're having a party down there.
They're like, whee! It's like whitewater, right?
Exactly.
They're like,
Well, that's the thing. And always do a second flush. I think those suckers, if they could fly and swim and get back up there, they would. So I always do a second flush just for good measure.
Well, the good news is that even though Murray is not here, I do have one other entity in the house that will get rid of the bugs, and that is K-Boo. And because she will eat anything, including our little tiny friends.
There you go. That might be another strategy, just to keep her a little bit, keep her hungry.
Protein.
She'll be even have more incentive.
It's a low-calorie snack for her. Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. As always, please share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes.
This has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.